Hi, Emily. Good to see you. Uh,
Hi.
It was a while since we spoke, and I think me and Emily we just like immediately connected. And I love this girl, and she has an amazing story that I think that you guys will be quite expired, inspired by. And I'm
Expired. It's like
yes, expired.
excited and inspired all at the same
Yeah,
time.
exactly. I'm inventing new words. It's not just my English. So I think you can probably introduce yourself, but start from the very beginning. How did you even get into this thing with carnivore? How did you find it? Because a lot of people won't even find it.
So I had debilitating mental illness. I had bipolar disorder and it had turned into rapid cycling near the end of 2018. Um, and, bipolar kind of makes sense. You got the high and the low. But rapid cycling means you don't know what your cycle is going to be each day, and sometimes
Okay.
even each hour. And it got to the point where I was so inconsistent with my moods that I couldn't work. And so I was out of work for about 6 months. And during that time, my brother, who is quite the jerk, um, but he's brilliant. I mean, he's absolutely brilliant.
We
And
love jokes.
yeah, I do. I do love jerks. Isn't that so weird? I know. But I love it because whenever they do something really sweet and kind, you're just like, oh, like it just means so much to you. So I was on my brother's mind, and he was sad that I was so miserable. And he learned about carnivore through Sean Baker, and he sent to me the audiobook for the first chapter of Amber O'Hearn's My Well Balanced Life or Well Balanced Diet or something like that.
Mm.
And she tells about how she resolved her bipolar disorder by eating just animal meat and animal fat.
Oh,
And I remember just listening to the whole chapter, and I was laying in the bathtub because I just couldn't do anything else. I was just, so I put the audio book on, and I just laid in the bathtub and I just listened to it, and something started clicking in my head and in my spirit. And I don't know why, because I've heard things to do before and I've never
mm.
followed through on them ever.
Yeah,
So I don't know why, but something clicked with this. I think it was the simplicity,
yeah.
um, and how intelligent this woman is. I mean, she is just off the charts intelligent. And I figured if this worked for her, then I can try it. And I'm so miserable. Why not try something for 30 days?
Mm.
And so I tried it, and it worked. And then I discovered very quickly into my carnivore journey that what I was really fighting was multiple sclerosis. And that my brain was chocked full of inflammation, and I had no clue, like no clue. I thought it was just bipolar disorder. I thought that's what I was fighting. And once I learned about the MS, the multiple sclerosis, I started researching, okay, what do I do for MS? And it's the same thing. You eat anti-inflammatory foods. And so I was like, oh, cool, I'm already doing that. Like, we're good, you know? And so I continued on the path, and uh, I haven't had a manic or a depressive episode with bipolar since April of 2019. And I haven't had a symptom of MS since May 9th of 2019. And I've been tapered off of all of my medications, and I just eat meat.
It's me. So, how long did it take before you started seeing a decline in your symptoms for bipolar disorder?
I started seeing glimpses of hope within the first, I would say, 30 days,
Hmm.
30 to 45 days.
Okay.
Um, I would just get these little glimpses, and it was beautiful because I was in such darkness. and such misery that it was so obvious. I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, I had an idea about what I'm going to do today, instead of just like these blinders of like, this is, horrible. Every moment is horrible. Like I had this idea like, hey, I feel like organizing my shoes. Like what? Whenever you're that,
Crazy.
yeah, when you're that mentally ill, you don't think forward ahead of time. You just think, how am I going to survive this moment? You're in survival mode all the time. And so for me to have these little glimpses, and then it progressed. And then it was like, I think tomorrow I'm going to do this. I think next week, I think next month, I think I want to plan for this. And then I went back to work full time in June. That totally blew my mind, that I could go back to work, and do well, and oh my gosh, I just got a performance review a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And holy crap, you would think I was the greatest thing in the whole world. Like
Yeah.
it was the most amazing performance review. And I'm like, wow, I've really come so far from the pit of mental illness misery where I was. And it's all because of me. I'm telling you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious because usually when people are depressed, and if you don't see any progress really quickly, most people probably just like, it doesn't work after a week or two. So how did you get through that? How did you kind of keep your mind focused and actually keep trying?
Well, it's even crazier than that was the fact that I was hospitalized. So
I love this. Tell me about that.
I started Carnivore February 24th, and I was hospitalized with multiple sclerosis March 12th.
Right.
A logical person would say, I started eating meat and now I can't swallow and I'm having difficulty walking and talking. Maybe I shouldn't do this. But I'm not logical. And and I had this just knowing in me. I had this resolve. And I think that me being rebellious was a strength in this situation, because I didn't care what the doctors said. I didn't care what logic said or what anyone else said. I was determined that I was going to get through the first 30 days of eating just animal meat and animal fat and see what happens and see what, and I am so grateful that I was able to have enough wherewithal to understand that the reason that the MS reared its ugly head and made such a display was because I was healing. And so, yes, it looks like if you go, okay, I did this and then this happened, it looks like, okay, Carnivore caused this. No. Carnivore revealed this. This was already under the surface. This was already the big player at play here. This was already the biggest problem. And then the Carnivore revealed it. And then I could really know what I was fighting. And I was able to fight both of them. I was able to fight the bipolar disorder and the MS with meat.
That's so cool. So I have a few questions with the just because I think that is quite common, and this sounds a little bit woo-woo when you say, oh, it was already there and the healing revealed it, and it all sounds very airy-fairy and like it's a bad excuse almost, and you just want to defend the meat. So what would you say to someone that says, oh, that doesn't sound right? How can it be there, but you're not noticing until you start eating well?
Well, I didn't, I'd never studied multiple sclerosis, so I didn't know until I got diagnosed. And I got diagnosed like legit diagnosed. Like I've had 4 MRIs over the past year, multiple blood work, a lumbar puncture. They freaking stuck a needle and withdrew lumbar fluid. I really have MS. It's not just like I think I have MS, or the doctors are discussing it like I have MS.
Mm.
And so then once I realized that, I started researching, okay, what are symptoms of MS? And I recognized that I've been suffering from MS for years, and I had no idea. And the craziest part for me was whenever, because the lesion that I had for MS was on my left temporal lobe. And whenever you put side by side the symptoms of left temporal lobe brain damage and bipolar disorder, the symptoms are identical. Identical. And so the fact that all of this has resolved with me just eating animal meat and animal fat, and that I haven't had any medication for MS, and I've tapered off of my medication for bipolar disorder, I don't know what more proof anybody would need. I mean,
So in effect, maybe you didn't have bipolar. Maybe it was a
that's
symptom
possible.
of MS.
That I would buy into that more than I would buy into anything.
There we go then. We bought into something.
Yes.
So in practical terms, I'm really curious, how did you eat just meat at the hospital? And did you still eat spices on the meat and that sort of thing, or was it just plain meat and salt?
Yeah, I started out a lot more creative. I used the Instant Pot. So it's a pressure cooker, and so I cooked all of my chicken. I did big batches
In the
of.
hospital?
No, 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 no.
No. Okay.
Before.
Okay. Let's cover both.
Huh?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were hospitalized for part of the 30 days
Yes,
and
yes,
you're
yes.
still eating meat.
So yeah, so I started out with the batches.
Yes.
And I had that already before I went into the hospital. And so I did batches of bone broth. I did batches, and it was all in the Instant Pot. I did batches of chicken, and it was really, really fatty chicken. It wasn't ever chicken breast. It was like chicken, like leg quarters with like the skin and the fat and the dark meat.
Yeah.
And then I did pork, like pork butt with lots of fat. And then I would cook ribeyes, or I would do like roast in the Instant Pot. So I had all of these things, and then I had them just portioned out and put in the freezer. So whenever I went into the hospital, I asked my mother to bring me some of my bone broth, because the whole reason why I went into the hospital, or the reason that I knew anything was wrong, was all of a sudden I had acute dysphagia, which
Mm.
means that your neurologically your brain just basically tells your throat to stop swallowing. And I couldn't even swallow water. Like I could just feel it gurgle, just like right there. And so a logical person would say, I can't swallow, like something's wrong. But
Yeah.
no, not me. I just would put my meat in a Vitamix and blend it into a pate so that I could still eat the meat. Yeah, I know.
That's
Just
amazing.
talk about crazy, like
No, talk about
crazy.
dedication.
I think it was more desperation. I
Maybe.
think it was more desperation, that I knew that if I continued where I was at, I was not going to survive. I
Mm.
was just not going to survive. That's how dark it was. There was no staying where I was at. There was
Yeah.
no staying where I was at. I had to go somewhere else. Um, and this was the journey that I was on. This was what was put in front of me. And so obviously, a couple of bites a day isn't enough food to sustain on. And so I ended up blacking out. And that's whenever I told my mom, I said, okay, take me to the ER. Obviously, I need fluids. We got to find out why I can't swallow. And then they did the MRI, and they were like, you have a lesion on your brain. And I was like, what? So what? Like,
Mm.
what? Like I had no clue that that's what I was fighting. And so in the hospital, I was able to get bone broth. My mother brought that to me, and the nurses heated it up for me, and I was able to have bone broth in the hospital. And then the cafeteria people would come around and get my order. And I would tell them, I just want meat and nothing else, just meat. And so they accommodated me, and they actually, instead of giving me like bread and pudding and stuff, they would give me extra meat.
Yay.
And so, yeah, so I was able to eat only meat in the hospital. And it wasn't great quality meat, you know, but it was still meat. It was still
Yeah.
better than me eating a roll or rice pudding or whatever the heck they have, you know, Jello. And and then whenever I got out of the hospital, I was in the hospital for 7 days, I think,
Mhm.
7 days. And then when I got out of the hospital, I had my stuff in the freezer still. And so I was able to eat my chicken and beef and pork and everything. And I did use seasonings in all of that. And it was over time that I realized that I was reacting to some of the seasonings. And so I tapered off of most of the seasonings. But I don't suggest that for other carnivores unless they have a reaction, because most people aren't as sick as I was or am, and they can handle seasonings. I just ended up, being this weird person that reacts to everything.
And I guess you started with removing the seasoning. Things got better.
Yeah. Well, so whenever I first just went to animal meat and animal fat, even with the seasonings and stuff, I still had results. I mean, I still, had the bipolar disorder resolved, the MS resolved. And it wasn't until I would say 6 months in that I started, as I was healing, I started realizing that I was reacting to certain things. Like, for instance, I had to cut out chicken. I was just like, what? I'm actually reacting to certain meats now? Like, this is ridiculous. But I noticed that whenever I would eat chicken, I would get super irritable, like just cranky, like just very triggered. And so I just eliminated it and went to just beef and lamb, and I was fine. So I just go to the path of least resistance. I go to where I feel best and don't waste my time with anything else.
So that's really, really interesting, because you say you got pretty good and got rid of most of your symptoms from eating just meat. And then I guess as the healing went further, you're going to start noticing with time that the small differences between what you've actually been eating in the short term. And that's something that you probably wouldn't have noticed several months before because your underlying inflammation was too high.
Yeah. And I mean, even to the point that I was eating just ghee, and I started realizing I was like reacting to ghee, and I was like, it doesn't even have the casein in it.
Yeah.
And I researched MS patients, and it says that they can even react to the trace amounts of casein that is in ghee. And so I was like, all right, well, let's just do process of elimination. So I removed ghee, and the reaction went away. I was fine. So
That's amazing.
I know, it's just like crazy. But I at first I got really mad. I got really mad that I was reacting to all, like, come on, I can't have ghee. Come on, I can't have butter. I can't have milk. I can't have cheese. I can't have chicken. Like, this isn't fair.
No.
But then I realized how grateful I am that I've discovered this, how grateful I am that I can operate in healing, and I can function. Who cares what I can and can't eat? I'm satisfied. I'm happy. I'm working. I'm healthy. So what? My joy and my health is more important to me than eating chicken and ghee. Like, who cares?
You say to a sugar addict.
I know.
Of course we care.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, I think it's so amazing that you and many people can go from, I can't remember, what did you call them when we talked last? Cream cones or something like that? How you can go from
cream
actually
corns.
cream horns. There we go. How you can go from being the person that actually love eating a lot of meat, even or meat food, and even if you might not have been, a sugar addict extraordinaire, if you want,
I
you were
don't
still
know.
eating a lot of things that you shouldn't be doing because it felt good probably and it tasted nice. And then now you're sitting here and say, well, who cares? It's just food, it's nutrition. And that's how we should see it. But
Well,
it's
and I
so hard
was,
for
I
many
mean,
people.
I would eat like I said before, I would eat the whole batch of cookie dough, just by myself, just because I was so miserable. And that sugar would give me that like little high,
Mm.
of like love or comfort or whatever. And now my whole freaking life is comfort.
Yeah.
My whole life is beautiful. Instead of like me sitting there in bed eating raw cookie dough.
When you put it like that, it doesn't sound very attractive, does it?
No, and it didn't serve me. It didn't serve me. It was a nice little band-aid, but it didn't heal me.
No,
There was no sugar that ever healed me at all. Like not even kind of.
no, they won't. I'm afraid.
No.
So another thing that I remember you were talking about, or maybe I watched your videos actually, but you got a lot of cheap rib eye on your birthday, wasn't
Mhm.
it?
Yes, I did.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So this whole time I've tried to make everything very, very simple. Because I started out from such a place of such severe mental illness. I knew that I had to not have a lot of barriers, not have a lot of obstacles, just get a plan and stick to it and be very simple. And so I just ate whatever I could get my hands on as far as meat
Mm,
and whatever was available. And I was on food stamps at the time. And so I would just go to the grocery store and get whatever they had at the grocery store. And as I learned, more and more about meat and about everything, I realized that, yeah, there are better sources of meat, but I, that was my goal in the future. Like, okay, one day I'll have, farm fresh, grass fed beef where the cow is all happy and loved and music is playing. And so that was my goal eventually, but yeah. um so I didn't, um for the first year all I ate was just whatever I could find in the grocery store. And on my birthday, February of 2020, I found this great deal of $3.99 ribeye, $3.99 a pound ribeyes, and I was just like, ah, like the carnivore gods were shining on me, and I was so happy. And I ate exclusively this meat for 7 days. Yeah, 7 days. And I had some severe reactions to this meat. Um, and we still don't know. We'll never know because I threw it away. We can't go test it in the lab to find out what was in that meat or what happened. But ever since I had that meat, I react to any kind of regular meat in the grocery store, any kind of like, they call it CAFO meat, where it's confined, what is it? Confined. Anyway, the
yeah,
feedlot
yeah, yeah.
of
I'll
not
Google it.
grass fed, um,
Concentrated animal feeding operation.
animal feeding operation. Yes. Um, so basically, whenever I triggered something inside of me with that, and so now every time I would go have the grocery store meat, I would get that metallic taste in my mouth, and I would start just withholding fluid in my body, and I would start to get depression, and I would start to even get the tingling like up and down my arms, like the nerve pain like I had before with the MS. So that's just a sign that that's not good for my body. And I didn't know that there was a farm I think it's like 18 miles from me, 18 miles from me, that had regenerative beef. They had grass-fed, grass-finished regenerative beef, and I could afford it if I just bought it in bulk. Like if I just said, okay, you're my only source. I'm not going back to the grocery store. I'm just gonna buy beef from you. And so I had that relationship and that commitment with her, the farmer, that I would buy from her. And so she was able to give me enough of a discount where I could afford it. And so ever since then, I've just been eating this local beef, and I haven't had any problems.
Yay. That's
Yes,
so good.
yes. And I would have I love and I hate how stubborn I am, because I never would have sought out this local regenerative beef if I hadn't had this horrible reaction from the $3.99 ribeye.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful now that I'm here, and that I have this local source.
Yeah. I mean, we're creatures of habit, and we don't have to, we're lazy. We're programmed to be
Yes.
lazy. We don't want to seek things out that requires effort.
Can I
Makes
tell
sense.
you? Can I tell you that I pushed the envelope of laziness?
Yeah. Go on.
So I thought it was really cool that I didn't have to do meal planning. I knew what I was going to eat every day was a steak. And I thought it was really cool that I didn't have to have this, big long shopping, adventure. I just
Hmm.
would go to the local farmer and just get steak. And so everything was really easy. And I thought, how can I push the envelope on laziness with that? And so I always liked my steaks really, really rare. And so I thought, what if I don't have to cook it? What if I could just eat this raw? And I tried it one day, and I haven't turned back. Like, I just eat a ribeye and I eat fat raw every single day. I don't have to cook anything. I just freeze it or refrigerate it, and I cut it up, salt it, and I eat it. And I love it. Like, I absolutely, with every bite, the very first bite, every day, I'm like, like I'm just so happy. And I never would have thought that just getting food in my mouth would be this easy, and that I'd be so happy.
Yeah. So is it purely taste, or do you notice anything else that is different by eating cooked versus raw?
Yeah, whenever because I did experiment a little bit in between, and I think two ribeyes. I had two ribeyes cooked, and it just like sunk, like it just went to the pit of my stomach, and I was just heavy, like I felt heaviness. And with the raw meat, I just feel so full and satiated and just light, like I'm just ready to go through my day. Not like, oh, I just ate a big old steak and I just need to like take a nap. Like, I just feel steady. I feel
Yeah.
stable. And I don't know. It's not for everyone. I don't think anyone should start carnivore raw at all. And I wouldn't suggest, like, you really need to know where your meat's coming from.
Mm.
I would suggest just, anything raw. But what I did is I just kind of listened to my body, and my body was really happy with this. And so that's what I did.
Last time we spoke, you did mention that as well, and you just got me to crave carpaccio so bad. And I have been eating it so many times since we spoke last time. I
Really?
love it. But I have a lot of olive oil and balsamic vinegar on it, so I can't
Mm.
be classified as a real carnivore, I guess.
Yes, you are. I hate that people classify stuff. Shut up.
Yeah. Oh no, it's so nice.
Yeah,
It's
that's
really good.
awesome. That's
And
awesome.
lots
I'm
and
glad I
lots
could inspire you or expire you.
expire me. Yeah. No, I I actually I don't know if I mentioned that, but I grew up and I didn't like meat. Well, I thought I didn't like meat. because my mom likes everything cooked well done.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was training as a chef, and I realized that actually I don't have to cook my meat like my mom does. And all of a sudden, I loved steak,
Oh, that's awesome.
but
That's
it
awesome.
had to be rare. And now I'm more blue than rare. But yeah, I'm with you there.
You're going to
I'm
be
not
raw
into.
at some point.
Yeah, I just can't do the raw fat. I find it
Oh,
awful.
that's my favorite. I love it frozen. Um,
Yeah.
if I don't like it, cold or whatever, or just like room temperature. I like it frozen where I can just like bite into it because it's so
Okay.
dense. It's like fudge.
Yeah. Okay. I might have to try that because I have some beef suet in the freezer. I might have to try because I tried the beef suet raw and I was like, oh, that's terrible. I can't do that.
Salt and frozen is
Salt and frozen. I'll
magic.
give it a go. I promise. I'll bite into it again and see what I think.
Let me know. Let me know.
Yeah, will do. Absolutely. So, who would you if because I know you're coaching people as well. Why do people come to you? Are
I
they usually very sick people that come to you?
yeah, a lot of times people with mental illness come to me because I get where they're coming from.
Mm,
And I'm not the typical motivator coach. I'm not
good.
like, come on, you need to do this, and we're gonna do this, and you got 5 more days, and blah blah blah. Nah, like that's not me at all. um, I come from a place of, just I get how horrible it is where you're at. And so all you got to do is better.
Hmm.
Like, you don't have to win this marathon. You don't have to, and I definitely don't work well with people who want to lose weight. Like, I could care less about weight. I mean, absolutely care less. I think mental health and physical health is far more important than the way you look. Because it just is. I mean, it is to me.
Yeah.
And I think that really resonates with people, because it's there's more substance to that. There's more substance to focusing on those true goals instead of superficial goals,
Hmm.
um, or temporary goals. you know I'm in this for life.
Yeah.
I'm in this for the rest of my life. I want to sustain this way of eating for the rest of my life because I love it. And I love watching people fall in love with it. My
Yeah.
favorite thing is whenever we'll be on a social meeting and it's somebody who's been on carnivore for like 2 months or something, and they'll be like, oh my gosh, this changed everything. The way I think, the way I feel. I am going to do this for the rest of my life. And God, I love it whenever it gets to that point, because then I know it's not anything that I have to do. I don't have to keep holding their hand and keep cheering them on. They're there. They're
Hmm.
there. They want that no matter what, and they're going to fight to keep that feeling, because that's what they decide. Uh,
Yeah.
and it's not superficial. It's genuine.
That's so awesome. So, if someone came to you and said, "Oh, can you coach me on the carnivore diet? I want to lose some weight." What do you tell them?
I tell them that there are many other coaches out there.
You
um,
just don't want to deal with them because it's not inspiring, or
I don't like operating in things that I'm not good at. As far as I can help them, and 9 times out of 10, all I have to do is talk to them for a little bit, and I can discover other underlying things that they really
mm,
do want to work on, that are under the guise of mental health and physical health. I just try and redirect their focus off of the weight, because sometimes it's like what you pay attention to is where you get caught up. Like, if somebody is focused on, I have only lost 5 pounds, but I feel so much better. I'm like, that's great. Let's focus on that. Let's focus on the fact that you feel so much better. And then a month later, they're like, oh, I lost 15 pounds, like it's whenever you focus on the weight, that's just such a superficial goal that it kind of gets you stuck. But if you focus on the true valuable goals of mental health and physical health, then it just like it automatically frees you up somehow. I don't understand the science of that at all. I just know that that's what's been working for me and for the people that I've been coaching, is when they get their mind off of the weight falls away.
That's a good lesson, I think, for most people that are in it for that specific reason. Is when we obsess about anything, it's really hard to actually achieve that very thing, because it's so easy that to pretty much beat ourselves up for almost nothing. Even if you haven't done anything wrong, if the weight is not coming off, you're just going to be feeling very negative in general, I think. And none of that's creating stress. Stress retains fat, etc. So focus on the good things.
Exactly. And you're just like you're letting yourself off the hook.
Yeah.
You're letting yourself off the hook, and you're operating in a success mode. Like, hey, my goal was not to lose 5 pounds this week. My goal was to eat meat 5 days out of this week.
Yes.
And I ate 5 days out of this week meat. I win. That's success. Yeah. You know what I mean? Instead of like I failed because the scale didn't move.
Yes, I love that. So speaking of which, I think it's time for some before and after photos of Emily. Because they're so awesome. So just to show you what can happen when you're not actually focusing on the weight.
Because I didn't focus on the weight, and I didn't work out. I did not work out in all of these pictures.
Yeah, and I think that's quite important to keep in mind, that the diet is, generally we say it's 80%, but I think it's probably more than that, because you don't have to work out. And especially now, if you're eating the right diet, you can still actually build a little bit of muscle by just using your body.
Yeah.
By having active muscles. You might not get a lot stronger, but you're still going to look better.
Well, and I started in January of this year. My body wanted to work out. And so I started working out. Yeah, I started working out in January. But all of these pictures that you're going to see, I didn't work out.
So when you feel well, when you're healthy, you're going to want to move more. You might want to start going to the gym. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's super cool. So let's see if we can find. I'm going to share 3 different ones that you sent me. She sent me 15 of them or something.
Sorry. I didn't know what you wanted.
I just picked the ones that I like best. So it's totally objective. So the first one is this one. So, 96 and 2019, that's 23 years difference.
It's crazy.
23 years of difference. It's like, how old were you on the 1996 picture?
I was 17. 17 years old. Yes.
And now you are 19.
Yeah, it's crazy. I look identical.
Yeah,
identical. And what is really interesting is all the pictures in between. Those two that do not look like that. You can see that I aged significantly, and then with Carnivore, it's like I anti-aged.
No, I just found this one like I'm speechless. It's like, really? So you're not even 23 on the left one, and that's 23 years of difference between there. So, ladies, if you want something else to focus on than losing weight, start focusing on looking younger instead, because that's I don't have words. I don't know what to say about it. It's just like wow is a very good word to use here. Then I wanted to show Emily in her underwear. Da-da-da-da.
Uh,
So see if we can.
my mom was like, "Can you just buy a swimsuit? Don't wear your underwear." I'm like, "It covers the same as my bra and underwear, but whatever."
Well, it's I can understand that point of view, but at the same time, there is swimsuits still cover some, and I think it's important that we, can see and compare, and people love that shit, so that's why we
Yeah.
share it.
Of course.
So this is the first one, front on picture. Actually says 2 of 2, so I probably did them in the wrong order, but anyway. So you pretty much lost almost 100 pounds.
Yeah,
That's
this first picture was before I started Carnivore, but
yeah.
that was the same exact size that I was when I
Mm,
started Carnivore,
yeah,
February of 2019.
yeah.
So basically from February to December, I lost 100 pounds and within 10 months.
That's crazy. So let's do the side on one, because I think that one is almost better. Uh, Here we go. Just sharing. I need some quick buttons to share things. So many clicks that you need to click to. Here we go. So there. That's like, wow.
Yeah. And that's not working out. That is
Yes.
not working out.
I mean, you get great looking glutes and hamstrings on that one.
Well, think about it. I've been carrying around all that weight for so
Yeah,
long that like
absolutely.
once the fat started melting away and the inflammation started going away, I
Mm,
still had those building blocks of my muscles
yeah.
and strength underneath that, you know, and it didn't go away.
I wonder if gonna try to find another picture quickly just to try, and because you said we just looked at you when you look young and when you look young. I
Yes.
think, I think you had a face picture. Yes. Let's do the face picture. So that's quite cool. Just to have a look at what's been happening. Dun, dun, dun. Here we go. There.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many. I guess you're a similar age as both of these pictures.
Yeah. The first picture is from October of 2018.
Yeah.
And the second picture is in I would say middle, probably about the same time of 2019.
Okay. Yeah. So
So
you're
this
one
is
year.
a year apart.
Yeah. But you don't actually look a year older. I think you're a few years younger at least.
Yeah, and all the inflammation. There was so much
Yeah.
inflammation in my face and in
Because
my
now,
body.
I mean, now you have quite a slim face in general, and you look like a big girl just from the face.
And I thought I was. I thought I was just, this Missouri girl.
Yeah.
And until I started looking at pictures from high school, I was like, oh, I've always had a thin frame, you
Mm.
know, and I didn't realize it until all the inflammation went away. It wasn't that I was a thick girl, it was that I was an inflamed girl.
Yeah. Just water retention.
Hmm.
All that. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing those pictures. I think that's going to be appreciated.
No problem.
And how long since you had any symptoms? Was that your birthday, Rish, that week?
Well,
Have you had any?
I don't consider that actual like bipolar disorder or MS symptoms because it wasn't like it just naturally came on. It was
Mm,
specifically from that meat.
yeah,
But
fair
yes,
enough.
I ended up one day, I was for probably about 3 hours, I was in the fetal position crying from that meat, from my reaction to that meat. And then I had the pins and needles up and down my arms from that meat. But besides that isolated situation, I have had no bipolar disorder like episodes like that or MS symptoms. I've been able to walk, talk, run, think ever since. and I just keep eating meat.
That's so great. I'm so glad for you. And if someone who's watching this wants coaching with you, are you taking new clients, and how can they get in contact with you?
Yes. The best way to get a hold of me is just to email me. My email address is your center of brilliance. Spell it the right way, not like me. Your center of brilliance at gmail.com, and just put coaching in the subject. And then we'll just schedule a time that works for us and go from there. And it's not like a commitment thing where, you have to meet with me every week and you have a treatment plan and blah, 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 blah. Like a lot of times I can just talk to somebody, see a solution, expire them. and
You love
then
that.
I do, excited and inspired. And then they go on their own. And then they contact me a month later and they're like, I'm doing great. And I'm like, cool. Or they contact me the next week and they're like, can I have mustard? And I'm like, yeah. Like, it's just, everybody's different. Everybody's totally different. So there's no set way to do this.
That's great.
So that's why I just try and be available.
And you do have a YouTube channel as well, but I think you're more active on Instagram.
Yes, I do have a YouTube channel, at Center of Brilliance. And then on Instagram, the main account that I use is at Carnivore Minds.
I will put the links up in the description so that people can just easily find you. You don't have to take notes.
Thank you.
Do you want to add anything else that you think that people should know about going carnivore, where to start, what to think about? Anything that you think is important?
Just to start simple, to not look at people who've been doing carnivore for a year and a half and try and start there. Like as if somebody went and picked up a raw steak right now and tried to eat that only, like, don't do that. Don't do what I'm doing. Start where you're at. Yeah. And then just try and eat more meat. That's it. Just eat more meat, eat more fat, and go from there. And your body will tell you how to navigate that, because everybody's different.
Yeah. And don't be scared if you get something flaring up all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I think that's good advice.
Sometimes it gets worse before it gets better, but it definitely gets better eventually.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoy this chat with you. I've been wanting to do it for a while, but life is busy.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much. I love you.
No problem. I love you too, Pim, so much.
Yay.